Imagine a country where people eat rice almost every day, enjoy full meals, do not obsess over calorie counting, and still have one of the lowest obesity rates in the developed world. Now compare that with countries where gyms are everywhere, diet plans are everywhere, low-carb products are everywhere, and yet obesity continues to rise year after year. The question is not just what Japan is doing differently. The real question is, what have the rest of us completely misunderstood about weight loss? Most people have been taught that staying lean is simple. Eat less, move more, count calories, and force your body into weight loss. But Japan tells a very different story. Japan has one of the longest life expectancies in the world and an obesity rate that remains far lower than many Western countries. And the most surprising part is this. Japanese people are not living on tiny portions of bland food. They are not starving themselves. They are not spending their entire day in the gym. Instead, they are eating a traditional combination of foods that quietly supports metabolism, gut health, fat burning, and appetite control from the inside. The real secret is not found in a fitness center. It is found on the breakfast table, in a bowl of soup, beside a serving of rice, inside fermented foods, green tea, seaweed, fish, and small vegetable dishes that have been part of Japanese food culture for generations. These foods may look simple, but together they send powerful signals to the body. They influence how fat is stored, how hunger hormones behave, how the gut microbiome works, and how the body uses energy. What makes this even more interesting is that the Japanese diet is not low in carbohydrates. In fact, rice is a central part of many meals. White rice appears on the table again and again, yet Japan has far lower rates of obesity and metabolic problems than countries where people are constantly afraid of carbs. This means the problem may not simply be carbohydrates themselves. The bigger question is what those carbohydrates are eaten with, how meals are structured, and what kind of foods are supporting digestion and metabolism alongside them. After years of watching people lose weight and then regain it, one thing becomes clear. Restriction alone is not a long-term solution for most people. Many diets work for a few weeks or a few months, but then hunger increases, cravings return, energy drops, and the weight comes back. This is why we need to look beyond simple diet rules and study cultures where healthy weight is maintained naturally over a lifetime. Traditional Japanese eating patterns offer an important clue. They are rich in fermented foods, fiber, fish, sea vegetables, soy-based foods, and green tea. These are not magic foods, but they work together in ways that modern diet culture often ignores. They help feed beneficial gut bacteria. They support stable blood sugar. They reduce the urge to overeat. They may also help the body burn energy more efficiently. In this video, we are going to break down the foods and habits that make the Japanese diet so powerful. You will learn about the sticky fermented food many Westerners avoid, even though it may be one of the strongest gut-supporting foods in the world. You will discover why matcha is different from regular green tea, how seaweed may support fat metabolism, why miso soup is more than just a starter, and how a traditional Japanese meal structure naturally controls portions without counting a single calorie. And once you understand this, you may never look at weight loss the same way again. To understand why Japanese eating patterns are so powerful, we need to begin with something most diet plans barely talk about: your gut microbiome. Your gut is not just a place where food gets digested. It is more like a living control center, filled with trillions of bacteria that help decide how hungry you feel, how well you absorb nutrients, how much inflammation your body creates, and even how easily your body stores fat. Think of your digestive system like a huge factory. Every time you eat, that factory receives raw material. Inside it, there are workers, and those workers are your gut bacteria. In a healthy gut, the workers are organized and efficient. They break down food properly, produce helpful compounds, strengthen your gut lining, and send clear signals to your brain that say, you are full. You have had enough. But when the gut is damaged by years of processed foods, too much sugar, low fiber, and poor meal habits, that factory becomes chaotic. The good workers decrease. The harmful workers take over, and the signals going to your brain and metabolism become confused. This is one reason some people feel hungry even after eating. It is one reason cravings become so hard to control. It is one reason fat begins to build up around the belly, even when the person feels like they are not eating that much. The body is not only responding to calories, it is responding to the quality of the food, the state of the gut, and the signals created after every meal. The most dangerous type of fat is not always the fat you can pinch under the skin. The real concern is visceral fat, the deep fat that surrounds organs like the liver, pancreas, and intestines. This fat is hidden, but it is active. It releases inflammatory chemicals that can interfere with insulin, blood sugar, blood pressure, and long-term metabolic health. Many people focus only on the number on the scale, but visceral fat is often a much better warning sign of what is happening inside the body. This is where the traditional Japanese diet becomes so important. It naturally contains many foods that support a healthier gut environment. Fermented soy foods, miso, natto, seaweed, vegetables, fish, and green tea all provide different tools for the body. Some feed beneficial bacteria, some reduce inflammation, some provide minerals and polyphenols, some help improve fullness. Together, they create a pattern of eating that supports metabolism instead of fighting against it. One of the most powerful examples is natto. Natto is made from fermented soybeans, and it has a sticky texture and strong smell that many people outside Japan find difficult at first. But inside that unusual texture is one of the most interesting foods for gut health. During fermentation, soybeans are transformed. Compounds that are difficult to access become easier for the body to use. Beneficial bacteria are introduced. Nutrients become more available. In simple words, fermentation unlocks the food. Regular soybeans are nutritious, but fermented soybeans are different. Natto contains live bacteria, enzymes, isoflavones, fiber, and vitamin K2. These work together in a way that a single supplement cannot copy. This is why traditional foods often outperform isolated capsules. The body does not receive just one ingredient. It receives a complete biological package. Research on fermented foods suggests that they can help shift the balance of gut bacteria toward a healthier profile. This matters because certain bacterial patterns are associated with obesity and inflammation, while others are associated with better metabolic health. When foods like natto are eaten consistently, they may help create a gut environment that supports better appetite control and improved fat metabolism. But natto is only the first piece of the Japanese metabolic puzzle. The next piece is something far more familiar, but most people outside Japan are using it the wrong way: green tea. Green tea is one of the most famous drinks in the world, but the way it is used in Japan is very different from the way many people drink it in the West. Most people simply dip a tea bag into hot water for a few minutes and think they are getting the full benefit. But traditional matcha is different. With matcha, the entire green tea leaf is ground into a fine powder, mixed into water, and consumed completely. This means you are not just drinking flavored water from the leaf. You are taking in the full concentration of its active compounds. One of the most important compounds in green tea is EGCG, a powerful catechin that has been studied for its effects on metabolism, inflammation, and fat oxidation. When matcha is prepared properly, it can deliver a much stronger concentration of these compounds than regular steeped green tea. This is one reason matcha has become such an important part of the conversation around Japanese health habits. The interesting thing about EGCG is not that it melts fat in some magical way. That is not how the body works. Its real value is in how it may support the body's natural energy-burning systems. One of those systems involves brown fat. Most people think all fat is the same, but it is not. White fat stores energy. Brown fat burns energy to produce heat. In simple words, brown fat acts almost like a small internal furnace. When brown fat is active, the body uses more energy. This does not mean you can drink matcha and ignore everything else. But it does mean that certain foods and compounds may help your body become more metabolically active. Green tea catechins, especially when combined naturally with caffeine, may support this process by encouraging thermogenesis, which is the body's heat-producing, energy-burning activity. But preparation matters. If you pour boiling water directly onto matcha, you can damage some of the delicate compounds that make it valuable. The better method is to use hot water, not boiling water. Around 175 degrees Fahrenheit is often recommended. This keeps the flavor smoother and helps protect the beneficial catechins. Another useful trick is adding a squeeze of lemon, because vitamin C may help improve the stability and absorption of green tea compounds. There is one mistake many people make without realizing it: adding cow's milk. The proteins in dairy may bind to some of the tea compounds and reduce how much your body can use. If someone prefers a creamy matcha, plant-based milk is usually a better option. But for the strongest traditional effect, matcha with water and a little lemon is the cleaner choice. Now, matcha is powerful, but it is not working alone in the Japanese diet. Another major reason Japanese meals support fullness and weight control is fiber. And this is where seaweed, vegetables, barley, mushrooms, and fermented plant foods become important. Fiber does something very different from protein or fat. It feeds beneficial bacteria in the gut. When these bacteria digest fiber, they produce short-chain fatty acids, including butyrate. Butyrate helps strengthen the gut lining, supports lower inflammation, and sends signals through the gut-brain connection that help regulate appetite. This is why a high-fiber meal can make you feel satisfied without feeling heavy. Seaweed is especially interesting because it contains unique fibers and compounds that are not common in most Western diets. Wakame, kombu, and nori are not just side ingredients. They bring minerals, iodine, fiber, and plant compounds that support the body in multiple ways. In traditional meals, seaweed often appears in soups, rice dishes, salads, and broths, quietly adding nutrition without adding many calories. This is the pattern that matters most. Japanese meals are not built around one miracle food. They are built around layers: fermented foods for the gut, matcha for metabolic support, seaweed and vegetables for fiber, fish for omega-3 fats, and rice as a steady base. Together, these foods create a meal that feels complete, satisfying, and balanced. And once you understand that structure, the next question becomes very practical. What exactly should you eat? How much should you eat? And how should you prepare it? Now let's turn this into something practical, because knowing the science is useful, but knowing how to use it in daily life is where real change begins. The Japanese diet works not because of one single food, but because the same supportive foods appear again and again in small, consistent amounts. This is important. Many people hear about a healthy food, eat it once or twice, expect a dramatic result, and then quit. But Japanese food culture proves that the real power is in repetition. The first food is natto. A traditional serving is about 50 grams, roughly one small pack. In Japan, it is often eaten at breakfast with rice, soy sauce, and mustard. At first, the smell and texture can feel unusual, especially if you did not grow up eating fermented foods. But nutritionally, natto is one of the most valuable foods in the Japanese diet. It provides beneficial bacteria, fiber, plant compounds, and vitamin K2. If the texture bothers you, mix it well with a little soy sauce, mustard, spring onion, or even add it over warm rice. The goal is not to force yourself to love it on day one. The goal is to make it easy enough to eat consistently. The second food is matcha. A good daily amount is 1 to 2 teaspoons of matcha powder. Use hot water, not boiling water, and whisk it until smooth. Drink it in the morning or early afternoon because it naturally contains caffeine. Adding lemon can support absorption, while adding cow's milk may reduce the benefit of some compounds. The point is not to turn matcha into a sugary dessert drink. The more sugar and cream you add, the more you move away from the reason it was helpful in the first place. The third food is miso soup. One bowl a day can be a simple way to bring fermented soy, minerals, and fiber into your routine. But there is one rule you must remember. Do not boil the miso paste. Boiling can damage the beneficial live cultures in unpasteurized miso. First, prepare your broth, vegetables, seaweed, or tofu, then turn off the heat and stir in the miso at the end. This small step protects the very thing that makes miso valuable. The fourth food is seaweed. You do not need a huge amount. Around 5 to 10 grams of dried wakame, kombu, or nori several times per week is enough for most people to begin adding this traditional food into their meals. Seaweed can go into soup, rice bowls, salads, or broths. It adds fiber, minerals, and unique plant compounds while keeping the meal light. The fifth food is fatty fish. Salmon, sardines, mackerel, and similar fish provide omega-3 fats that support heart health, inflammation balance, and metabolic function. Aim for 3 servings per week if possible. The cooking method matters here too. Grilling, steaming, or baking is better than deep frying, because deep frying can damage healthy fats and add inflammatory oils. The sixth food is fermented pickled vegetables. In Japan, small portions of pickles often appear beside meals. These are not meant to be eaten in huge amounts. A small serving can add flavor, crunch, and beneficial bacteria when naturally fermented. Look for fermented varieties rather than simple vinegar pickles if your goal is gut support. The seventh food is barley or mixed grain rice. This is a powerful upgrade for people who already eat rice. Instead of removing rice completely, mix white rice with barley or other grains. A simple 70% rice and 30% barley blend gives more fiber and supports beneficial gut bacteria while still keeping the meal familiar and satisfying. These 7 foods are not a crash diet, they are a pattern, and that is why they work. Once these foods are in place, the next step is learning how to structure your meals the Japanese way. This is where many people miss the bigger lesson. The Japanese diet is not only about ingredients, it is also about rhythm, balance, timing, and portion structure. These habits make it easier to eat less without feeling deprived, because the meal itself is designed to satisfy the body before overeating begins. One of the most important ideas is called Ichiju Sansai, which means 1 soup and 3 side dishes. A traditional meal may include a bowl of rice, 1 bowl of miso soup, 1 protein such as fish, tofu, or natto, and 2 small vegetable-based sides. This structure looks simple, but it solves many problems at once. The soup slows you down and adds volume. The protein supports fullness. The vegetables provide fiber. The fermented foods support the gut. The rice gives energy, but it is balanced by everything around it. This is very different from the way many modern meals are eaten. In many Western diets, the plate is often dominated by 1 large serving of refined carbohydrates or fried food, with very little fiber or fermented food beside it. That kind of meal is easy to overeat because it is calorie-dense but not deeply satisfying. A Japanese-style meal, on the other hand, gives your body many different signals of fullness. You are not relying on willpower. The structure of the meal helps control the portion naturally. Another powerful habit is eating slowly. When you eat too fast, your stomach may be full before your brain even receives the message. It takes time for fullness hormones to rise and communicate with the brain. This is why many people overeat without realizing it until they feel heavy and uncomfortable afterward. Japanese meals, with several small dishes, naturally slow the eating process. You take a little soup, a little rice, a bite of fish, a small portion of vegetables, and the meal becomes calmer and more mindful. Then there is the Okinawan principle known as hara hachi bu, which means eating until you are about 80% full. This is not starvation, it is awareness. You stop before you feel stuffed, and within a few minutes your body catches up. By the time the fullness signals arrive, you feel satisfied instead of overloaded. This one habit can quietly reduce overeating without the emotional stress of dieting. Timing also matters. Many Japanese households traditionally eat dinner earlier and leave a natural overnight gap before breakfast. This creates an 11 to 1, 2 hour window where the body is not constantly digesting new food. During this time, insulin levels can settle, digestion can rest, and the body has more opportunity to use stored energy. This does not require extreme fasting. It is simply a daily rhythm that gives the metabolism breathing room. Another useful principle is fermented food spacing. Instead of eating all fermented foods at one meal, spread them through the day. Natto at breakfast, miso soup at lunch, and fermented vegetables at dinner can provide steady support for the gut. This creates consistency, and consistency is where the real benefit comes from. But there are also mistakes that can ruin the benefits before they reach your body. Boiling matcha or miso, relying on supplements instead of whole foods, adding too much sugar, eating fermented foods only once in a while, or watching only the scale instead of the waistline can all lead to frustration. The goal is not to chase quick weight loss. The goal is to reduce visceral fat, support gut bacteria, improve fullness, and help your metabolism function better over time. And this brings us to the most important truth of all. Japan's health advantage is not magic and it is not genetics. It is the result of repeated daily signals sent through food, meal structure, and lifestyle rhythm. The truth is simple, but most diet culture makes it complicated. Japan does not prove that everyone must eat exactly like the Japanese to be healthy. What Japan proves is that the body responds differently when food is used as a daily signal instead of a temporary punishment. When your meals regularly include fermented foods, fiber-rich plants, sea vegetables, fish, green tea, and balanced portions, your metabolism receives instructions that support fullness, gut health, lower inflammation, and better energy use. This is why the Japanese example is so powerful. Their lower obesity rate is not mainly about extreme exercise, strict calorie counting, or perfect discipline. It is about a food environment that makes healthier choices normal. Natto at breakfast, miso soup with meals, seaweed in broth, fish several times a week, small vegetable sides, rice served with balance, and matcha prepared properly all work together. None of these foods has to shout for attention. Their power comes from appearing again and again, quietly shaping the body's internal environment over months and years. And this is the point many people miss. Your metabolism is not fixed. It is not simply broken because of age. It is not permanently controlled by family history. Your body is a living system. It reacts every day to what you eat, how you eat, when you eat, how much fiber reaches your gut, how much inflammation your meals create, and whether your hunger signals are being supported or disrupted. That means you have more control than you may have been told. If you want to begin, do not try to change everything overnight. Start with one habit. Add 1 bowl of miso soup a day, but remember to stir the miso in after the heat is turned off. Replace 1 regular cup of tea or coffee with properly prepared matcha, using hot but not boiling water. Add seaweed to soup or rice bowls a few times a week. Try a small pack of natto at breakfast, even if you need time to adjust to the taste. Mix barley into your rice instead of removing rice completely. Add fish to your meals 3 times a week if possible. Keep small fermented vegetables beside your food for flavor and gut support. Then watch the right markers. Do not judge everything by the scale alone. The scale can be misleading because it does not show where fat is being lost. Visceral fat, the dangerous fat around the organs, may reduce before the number on the scale changes dramatically. Measure your waist once a week. Pay attention to your energy, digestion, cravings, and how satisfied you feel after meals. These signs often reveal progress before the mirror does. Also remember the preparation rules. Do not boil matcha. Do not boil miso. Do not turn matcha into a sugary dessert drink. Do not expect 1 serving of natto to undo years of poor eating. Do not replace whole foods with capsules and expect the same result. The Japanese pattern works because it is complete. It gives the body live cultures, fiber, minerals, polyphenols, omega-3 fats, and meal structure together. So let's lock this in. Natto supports the gut. Matcha supports thermogenesis. Miso provides fermented nutrition. Seaweed brings unique fiber and minerals. Fatty fish supports inflammation balance. Fermented vegetables diversify gut bacteria. Barley rice improves fiber intake without removing comfort from the meal. And the meal structure itself helps you eat enough without overeating. You do not need a perfect diet. You need a repeatable one. You do not need to punish your body into weight loss. You need to feed it signals that help it work properly again. That is the real lesson from Japan. If this video helped you understand weight loss in a new way, share it with someone who is struggling with stubborn belly fat or low energy. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next science-backed health guide. And before you leave, comment below, which Japanese food will you try first? Natto, matcha, miso, seaweed, or barley rice?